African savannah wakes beneath another scorching sunrise. Long before the heat reaches its peak, one mother is already on the move. For Baku, every new day begins with the same urgent mission: find food. Somewhere beyond the thorn bushes and rocky ground, two hungry cubs are waiting inside a hidden den. They are still too young to search for food themselves, leaving every meal resting entirely on their mother's shoulders. Failure is not an option. Guided by an extraordinary sense of smell, Baku slowly weaves through the dry landscape. Every scent drifting through the morning air could lead to a meal or another dead end. Then, something familiar reaches her nose. A carcass, the scent of a dead antelope, spreads across the savannah, promising an easy source of food after what may have been a long search. But as Baku draws closer, she immediately realizes she is not alone. A flock of vultures already surrounds the carcass. They have claimed it first. The birds tear at the remains while filling the morning sky with harsh calls, guarding the meal they discovered before anyone else could reach it. For most animals, that would be enough reason to turn away. At least, that is what they believe. Within the next few seconds, one bold decision will not only steal part of their meal, she keeps moving. There is no reason to stay where dozens of frustrated birds are gathering once again around the carcass. Beyond the feeding site, the landscape becomes quieter. Rocky slopes replace the open plain. As Baku crosses the uneven ground, something unusual catches her attention. High above the cliffs, two vultures repeatedly fly away before returning to the exact same place. Again and again. It isn't random. They aren't resting. Every flight ends at the very same ledge. Baku stops to watch. The pattern is impossible to ignore. There is only one explanation. Hidden among the rocks is a nest. She doesn't climb. She doesn't rush forward. Instead, she quietly turns away. Some opportunities are worth waiting for, and Baku has just found one that may offer far more than a few stolen pieces of meat. Baku doesn't return to the cliff the next day with the intention of climbing. She returns to watch. From a safe distance, she quietly studies the pair of vultures as they come and go above the rocky ledge. Every movement holds a clue, and she pays attention to all of them. The birds leave the nest. Hours later, they return. Then they leave again. Day after day, the same routine repeats itself. Baku never interrupts them. She doesn't reveal her presence or waste energy on a risky attempt that might fail. Instead, she waits, allowing time to uncover what impatience never could. Each departure is carefully remembered. Each return becomes another piece of the puzzle. Slowly, a pattern begins to take shape. The vultures are not guarding the nest every moment of the day. There is one short period when both birds leave together. It doesn't happen at sunrise. It doesn't happen late in the afternoon. Around the middle of the day, the nest is left completely unattended for a brief time. Baku finally has the answer she has been waiting for. That narrow window is her only chance. She cannot afford to arrive too early, and arriving too late would be even worse. Everything depends on perfect timing. As another morning passes, the sun climbs higher over the African savannah. The air grows hotter, and the rocky cliffs shimmer beneath the midday heat. Far above, the two vultures lift into the sky once again. This time, Baku doesn't simply watch them disappear. She rises from the shade and begins moving toward the base of the cliff. Days of patience have led to this single moment. Now comes the most dangerous part. The moment has finally arrived. With both vultures gone, Baku wastes no time. She heads straight for the base of the cliff, where the steep rock face rises high above the savannah. From below, the climb looks difficult, but turning back is no longer an option. The opportunity she has waited days for will not last long. Baku begins climbing. Her powerful claws grip every narrow crack they can find, pulling her steadily upward. Each step demands strength and careful balance as she works her way across the rough stone. There is no room for mistakes. One slip could send her back to the ground below. Meter by meter, she climbs higher. The nest slowly comes into view. At last, she reaches the rocky ledge. Inside the nest, only 2 eggs remain. For a mother raising young cubs, they are exactly what she needs, a valuable source of nourishment that can help her family survive for several more days. Baku doesn't hesitate. She quickly eats the first egg, then the second. The nest is empty, but before she can leave, sharp cries suddenly echo across the sky. The vultures are back. They have returned sooner than expected. Baku reacts instantly. She has already taken what she came for. There is nothing left to fight over. Without wasting another second, she turns away from the nest and begins climbing back down the cliff. Above her, the angry vultures circle and scream, diving closer as they chase the thief who has just stolen their future. The raid is over. Now, all that matters is getting home safely. The vultures continue screaming overhead as Baku makes her way down the cliff. They follow her every movement, circling through the sky in frustration. But she has no intention of standing her ground. The eggs are gone. Her goal has already been accomplished. Now, the only thing that matters is getting back safely. Leaving the rocky cliffs behind, Baku disappears into the thorny brush, where the dense vegetation quickly hides her from the angry birds above. By the time the sun begins to sink lower across the savannah, she finally reaches a place she knows well. Herdeen. The moment she arrives, 2 tiny figures emerge from the entrance. Her cubs. They crawl eagerly toward their mother, greeting her as she returns from another successful search for food. Everything she risked throughout the day was for this moment. The nourishment from the 2 eggs will help the young cubs through several more critical days as they continue to grow. For Baku, the dangerous climb has been worth every step. High above the landscape, however, the story is far from over. The pair of vultures continues flying over the surrounding savannah. Their nest is gone. There are no eggs left to protect, yet they refuse to leave the area. Instead, they patrol the skies again and again, passing over the thorny bushes and rocky ground below. With every wide circle, they observe a little more of the land beneath them. Then, after several flights, something unusual begins to stand out. A narrow trail disappearing into the dense brush. It is easy to overlook, but from above, it leads to only one place. Without realizing it, Baku has left behind the first clue that could guide the vultures straight to her family. The following morning begins much like the one before. As the first light spreads across the African savannah, Baku leaves her den once again in search of food. Her cubs remain behind. They are still far too young to survive on their own, and the safety of the hidden den is their only protection while their mother is away. High above, the pair of vultures returns. They have not forgotten what happened on the cliff, nor have they stopped searching. Once again, they circle over the landscape, drifting lower with every pass. Their sharp eyes scan the ground below, following every opening between the thorn bushes. Then they find it, the narrow trail. It disappears into the dense vegetation exactly where they had noticed it the day before. The birds glide lower still, carefully watching the area surrounding the hidden entrance. They no longer have a nest to defend. Now, they have found something else. Far from the den, Baku suddenly hears a familiar sound. The harsh calls echo across the savannah. They are closer than before. Much closer. She immediately stops. For a brief moment, she listens. The cries are coming from only one direction. Herdeen. Without another second of hesitation, Baku breaks into a full sprint. She races across the dry ground, weaving between thorn bushes and scattered rocks with only one thought in mind. Her cubs. Back at the den, the vultures continue circling overhead, keeping their attention fixed on the entrance below. The distance between hunter and home is shrinking with every heartbeat. Baku is running as fast as she can, but she still doesn't know if she will arrive in time. The next few moments will decide whether her family survives another day. Baku reaches the den just as the vultures descend once again. The pair flies low over the entrance, circling again and again while watching every movement below. Their loud calls echo through the thorny brush, filling the quiet morning with tension. Slowly, the balance begins to change. The repeated attacks accomplish nothing. The den remains protected. The cubs stay hidden safely inside. Realizing they have no chance of reaching the entrance, the vultures make a few final circles above the brush. Then, one by one, they turn away. The sky gradually grows quiet once more. Baku remains at the entrance, watching until the last bird disappears into the distance. Only then does she allow herself to stand still, knowing that for today her family is safe. The pair of vultures slowly disappears into the distance. Their final circles above the den grow wider until they finally leave the area behind. For today, the battle is over. Baku remains standing outside the entrance, alert for a few moments longer. Only after the danger has passed does she turn her attention back to the hidden den where her two cubs are waiting safely inside. They have survived another day. The eggs Baku stole have already become the nourishment that keeps her young growing, while her fierce defense has protected them from the threat that followed. For the vultures, the outcome is very different. They have lost their nest. For Baku, she has protected her family. Neither side acted out of cruelty. Each was simply fighting for the next generation. Across the African Savannah, life moves forward without pause. No victory remains forever. Today's survivor may face another challenge tomorrow, another search for food, another unexpected encounter, another battle that cannot be avoided. For Baku and her cubs, however, this day ends with the one reward that matters most. They are still together, and in the wild, sometimes surviving one more day is the greatest victory of all.